Welcome to Trekking Wild. Today we are in Arches National Park hiking the Devil's Garden Trail. At just over 8 miles, this route travels through a landscape filled with towering sandstone fins, massive arches, and sections of primitive trail that require some route finding. That's the plan for today. Let's go hiking. The hike begins on a wide, well-defined trail that is easy to follow. Early in the hike, short side trails lead to Tunnel Arch and Pine Tree Arch, two of the most accessible arches along the route. This first section is relatively easy, but the character of the trail changes considerably once you leave the main path and enter the primitive portion of the loop. I chose to hike the loop counterclockwise, beginning with the primitive trail. Most hikers appeared to be traveling in the opposite direction, and many stopped at Landscape Arch without completing the full loop. Starting this way meant fewer crowds and put me on the more adventurous part of the trail almost immediately. The primitive trail includes deep sand, slick rock scrambling, narrow drop-offs, and places where you have to stop and look for trail markers to determine where the trail continues. All right, we're hiking along in the Devil's Garden. So the way All Trails has it listed out, and the way that I'm doing this route, you basically veer right on this loop, and then there's signs saying it's a primitive trail. It's pretty sandy at that point. And then it says there's some scrambling. I haven't come across anything I would consider scrambling. There's definitely been some spots where you had to kind of step down some slick rock, but nothing where I'm using my hands or anything like that. So I don't know what lies ahead, but nothing like that so far. I'll certainly update you if I come across anything like that. We're at about 2.4 miles into the trail, and this is an 8-mile loop trail. This isn't a hike where you simply follow a dirt path from one destination to the next. Beyond the more developed beginning of the trail, the route includes deep sand, slick rock scrambling, narrow ledges, and places where the trail isn't immediately obvious. All right, made it to the scrambling portion of the trail. So there definitely is some scrambling. So if that's not your thing, know that going in. But it was a lot of fun climbing up there, so I enjoyed it. All right, let's keep going. We are about 3 miles in. A short side trail leads to Private Arch, which is tucked away among the Sandstone Fins. This arch feels more secluded than many of the others along the route. Since reaching it requires completing part of the primitive trail and taking an additional side trip, it receives fewer visitors than the arches near the trailhead. All right, made it to Private Arch. This is off a little spur trail from the primitive loop. Definitely more scrambling on this trail. I've come to several spots where I had to turn off the camera in order to use both hands. So yeah, definitely a fun trail, a little bit of an adventure with the scrambling. So that's a lot of fun. Again, if that's not your thing, it might not be a good trail for you, but lots of arches on this trail. So it's been a good trail, a lot of good scenery. All right, let's keep going. Another side trail leads to Dark Angel. Dark Angel is a 150-foot sandstone monolith standing by itself at the edge of Devil's Garden. Its dark color and isolated location make it look completely different from the arches and sandstone fins found throughout the rest of the hike. Double O Arch consists of two openings formed in the Sandstone Fin. The larger opening sits above a much smaller arch near the ground. One of the biggest highlights of the Devil's Garden Trail is the number of arches you can see during a single hike. There are 7 major named arches along the route: Tunnel Arch, Pine Tree Arch, Private Arch, Double O Arch, Navajo Arch, Partition Arch, and Landscape Arch. Along the way, you can also see smaller openings developing in the sandstone fins, offering a look at how new arches gradually begin to form. As I continued toward Landscape Arch, the trail climbed onto a narrow sandstone fin. There are steep drop-offs on both sides, but the sandstone provides fairly solid footing when it's dry. From the top, you get wide open views across Devil's Garden and the surrounding desert. This was one of the most memorable sections of the entire trail. Before reaching Landscape Arch, 2 additional side trails lead to Navajo Arch and Partition Arch. Partition Arch opens through the side of a fin and provides a natural window overlooking the surrounding desert. Navajo Arch is hidden between tall sandstone fins, creating a shaded passage beneath the rock. Landscape Arch is one of the most impressive arches in Arches National Park. Its opening spans 306 feet, making it the longest natural arch in North America and one of the longest in the world. At its narrowest point, the sandstone is only about 6 feet thick. Several large sections broke away from the arch during the 90s, leaving behind the remarkably thin ribbon of sandstone that remains today. The Devil's Garden Trail is one of the best hikes in Arches National Park if you want to experience more than the park's shorter viewpoint trails. The route passes 7 named arches, along with sandstone fins, narrow ledges, and Dark Angel. The primitive sections add some route finding and scrambling without turning the hike into a technical climb. If you want to see many of the geologic features Arches National Park is known for, while adding a little more adventure, this trail is a great choice. That's going to do it for this episode of Trekking Wild. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And for more trail write-ups, gear reviews, and trip ideas, be sure to check out trekkingwild.com. Until next time, stay wild.